a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to go scuba diving. I've never had the chance to go scuba diving before. I've always loved it. I'm a big water guy. I love it. And it was kind of cool. So you get all your gear on and you plop into the water. And if you're the first one, you hold the chain to the anchor of the boat and you have to wait for everyone else to get there. So I was the first one going in and I was holding on to the chain and I was just kind of sitting there with bobbing in the water, my head up, waiting for the crew to get in the water with me. And eventually I got bored and I put my snorkel in and I put my mask on and I just stuck my head under and I was surrounded by these beautiful colored fish. And I go, oh, it's already started. Oh, cool. This is awesome. And we went all over the place. I found one shark, and that was, you see a lot of shapes and things. You go, is that a shark? Is that a shark? But then I saw a shark. I go, that's a shark right there. Okay. And we, one day in the Keys, has this mini season called lobster season, where no commercial people are allowed to go lobstering. Only people with their own boats go. And so we went lobster fishing. And we hunted these guys all day long. You go around, you find rocks, and you dive down, and you start you get a knife, try to get them out of the rock, and we all day long, we went for these lobsters, and we finally got home, and we cooked them, and we each got one lobster tail, and we all realized, oh, this is why this is such an expensive piece of meat. The amount of gear and effort and time and money I spent just to get this 2-ounce piece of meat was a lot. And here's what's fascinating. It was delicious, by the way. Here's what's fascinating. Those lobsters fought me every step of the way. Like every step of the way. They were like, you're not getting me. And we're like, we're getting you. And they're like, no, you're not getting me. We're like, we're getting you. Up until the point where it was even, where there's a circle was around the dock and it was like in the middle. Like we pulled it out of our bag and it was like, it makes this clicking noise like the Predator. It's like it was like, I'm about to fight you guys. And like, there's like 4 of us, there's 1 of you. You're not about to fight us. And the whole time he's going, and we're like, dude, we're about to like break you. So I don't know what's going on. He fought us to the very end of his life. He fought us so that we would not eat lobster tail. And here's the deal. That lobster was one of the best lobsters I ever had in my life. And it was alive that morning, and it was on my plate at dinner. And here's one of the weird things about life in modern society that we can sometimes forget. That when we go to the grocery store and we see how the shelves are just packed with things, and we see the cereal, and we see the bread, and we see the produce section, we see the chicken and the meat, and they just come packaged. They're ready. You just kind of go there and you select it, and you put it in your basket, and you go. And one of the things we can kind of forget in our modern life is, unless something dies, we don't get to eat it. Like, in order for something to provide sustenance for our bodies, it has to die. And we know this is true. And in fact, like the closer you get to the day that thing died, the better. Who's ever had homemade salsa and go, why do the jars not taste this good? And you go, because this tomato was alive yesterday. The jar, who knows when that tomato was alive, right? And the closer to its death, you go, oh wow, this is getting even better. And in order for it to provide, it has to die. And we know this is true because why? You can eat a Twinkie from September of 1982, and it wouldn't matter because it doesn't die. You can eat it whenever you want to. It's an anytime snack, but it's not going to provide for you. Like, it's not going to, like, provide sustenance, and it might keep you from starving to death, but it won't, like, build a future for you. Because it didn't die, it can't provide. And so, in order for us to get these things, but here's the weird, tricky thing. You ready? Nothing on earth will provide for you voluntarily. They will all be like that lobster, fighting every step of the way. If you have a garden, if you have crops, there's going to be thistles, there's going to be weeds, there's going to be things fighting back, there's going to be stuff choking out the nutrients of that plant because it is work. It is fighting against you. It does not want to voluntarily give you the sustenance that you need to live. This is why the Bible says, by the sweat of your brow you will eat. This is the curse that the Bible talks about at the beginning of Genesis. It says, by the sweat of your brow. Now here's a question. Who here has frustrations at work? Who here has struggles and difficulties? It feels like, sometimes it feels like my job is fighting back against me. Sometimes it feels like my paycheck's not just sitting there at the end of 2 weeks. It's like, I have to fight my way there to get it. Yeah, because by the sweat of your brow, you're going to eat. by the sweat of your brow. That paycheck's not coming voluntarily. You got to fight for it. You got to work for it. Because nothing wants to provide for you voluntarily. And here's the deal. In the book of Ruth, we're going to see two primary ways. We're going to be talking about the provision of God. How God provides for his people. How God's different than the world around us, where he does voluntarily and willingly provide for us. And there's two primary ways in the book of Ruth. If you were to go home and read it, it's a great story, by the way. It's 4 chapters long. You can read it in a half an hour, and it's great. There's two ways you're going to see provision from God to people, especially this family, Ruth and Naomi, in the book of Ruth. The first is called gleaning. It's a practice in Israel. God wrote it into his law. Now, gleaning is this idea where any person who had land in Israel, any person who had property, any person who put out crop and came back and harvested it, he was only allowed to harvest over it one time. He wasn't allowed to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. He wasn't allowed to pick every last little piece up and go, no, I'm going to go through it one time, and whatever I missed, I missed. And then the people who could not afford land, who could not make their own crop, they could then come out and they could pick whatever was left over. It's called gleaning. And what you see here is kind of like a welfare system where the people who could not afford their own food could go work for their food, provide for their family, feed their kids, and yet it is also a generosity from other people. And God's ingraining generosity and charity into his people Israel. He wrote it in the law. Here's how you're going to live: generously, charitable. Everything you produce is not going to be just for you. And because of that, we're going to have scenes in the book of Ruth where she's allowed to go and glean in the property of people around her. And the other one is the concept of redemption. The other way God has laid out ways for his people to be provided for is redemption, a kinsman redeemer. The first version of redemption is, there's a slide up here, it's going to have 3 of them, I think. The first one is kinsman redeemer. This is usually something where if someone had their husband pass away and they had no way to get provided for, there could be a close family member that could legally marry that person, provide for that person, and then also there's a section of his inheritance would go towards that person's family so that family line can move forward into the future, and the person who died, that family doesn't have to disappear off the face of the earth. The kinsman redeemer comes in, purchases the things that they cannot afford, provides for them, and they move on in the future healthy and happy and good. And later on, we're going to find out that Boaz, who's the character we're going to read about today, he's a kinsman redeemer of the family that we're reading about. The other way is you can return to prosperity. All right, you got to spend money to make money, right? I had to leverage my field. I lost all my stuff. I made a bad investment. I lost my land. I lost my possessions. I lost my stuff. But then it worked, though. I used that to make this business work, and I came back to prosperity, and there's an easy way to purchase it all back in the land of Israel. And the final one is the year of Jubilee. In Israel, there is a law from God that said every so many years the year of Jubilee will come, and all those things you've lost, if you ever got sold into slavery, if you lost your land, if you lost this or whatever, it just kind of gets reset, put back in the hands of whoever lost it. And as far as our historical record goes, there is no evidence that Israel ever practiced this third version of redemption. Because, can anyone guess why, by the way? Why? No, no one needs to tell us why they would not do it, because it goes completely against human nature to do something this way. Because no one is going to redeem you voluntarily. No one's just going to provide for you voluntarily. If it's going to provide, it has to die. Have you ever thought about forgiveness in the Christian worldview? What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is me saying, this part of me that I deserve, I own, you wronged me, and I have this over your head, and I'm just taking that away. Well, who pays the cost for it then? I do. some part of me, some right I have to get back at you dies. I'm not gonna live into that. I'm just gonna forgive you. If some part of me has to die if I'm going to provide. And so, redemption is a marketplace term. It is a term that talks about actual things that happen in a marketplace. I want this item, I go buy it, I redeem it. We actually, last week sometime, we had a drunk driver park his car right behind our building here, and we got towed away. And you know what? His car's in captivity somewhere, and he's going to have to go redeem that car at some point, and it's going to cost some money. They're not going to just give it back to him voluntarily. That's what's going to happen. And so, these are the three ways that God has built into His people to provide for His people. That's provision that God has laid out for His people. Now, in the book of Ruth, we start with the backdrop of Judges. Now, Judges was a dark part of of Israel's history, and people ran away from God as fast as humanly possible. They got themselves in trouble as fast as humanly possible. They got themselves in deep, dark trouble. And at the end of the book of Judges, twice, it gives us this verse that tells us why they would get into so much trouble all the time. Are you ready? And here it is. It says in Judges 17 and 21, it says this: "In those days, Israel had no king, and everyone did as they saw fit." Some translations say, in those days, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Now, could you imagine a nation ever getting to that point where they're proud about the fact that they don't have a king and they can do whatever they want? Have you ever heard of a nation like that before? I think we just had a protest about not having a kings over our heads recently. And so that's the culture. That's the culture they're living in. The people in the book of Ruth are living in this culture where you can't tell me what to do. I do whatever I want to do. We have no king. You're not the king over me. You're not the boss of me. I can do whatever I want to do, and they get themselves in trouble. And Ruth 1:1 starts this way: "In the days when the judges ruled." What does that tell us? It tells us that this is a time where there's no king and everybody does whatever they want to do. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And so hard times came, hardship happened, and this family we're about to read about, this guy named Elimelech, he doesn't like hard times. He doesn't like hardship. He doesn't want any of that stuff to do. And so he's going, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flee to Moab. I'm going to go to a part of this world that God told me not to live in, and I'm going to escape this hardship there. And guess what happened? They lived happily ever after, right? No, everyone died. It's the worst possible story. He died, his wife marries their sons away to Moabite women, and the two sons die, and so she's sitting there with no job, no way to provide for herself, with two daughters-in-law, no sons. They're just the three of them stuck together, and they don't know what to do. Luckily, God has set out ways for people in this position to get provision, right? But guess what? She's not in Israel. She has run away from Israel. She's not in the place where God wrote the rules. She's not in the place where God's in charge. She's in Moab. And so she now has to go back home, having lost everything. And she goes back home, and Ruth, one of her daughters-in-law, sticks with her. And they show up. And they show up at the beginning of the barley harvest. It's harvest season in the town they ran away from. Wait a second, time out. I thought they were having a famine. Yeah, they were. Famines end. Did you know that? Hardships end. Hard seasons don't last forever. They're not times to bail. They're times for us to build ourselves up, times for us to figure out how God's trying to shape us, and we work our way through them, because hard times fail. We don't need to run from all of them. We don't need to run from every hardship that comes our way, because they're not going to last forever. God's working with you. He's not bailed on you, so don't bail on Him. So they show back up, and it's the barley harvest, and they have no food, they have no land, they have no nothing, because they don't have any way to make money. And so Naomi goes, here's what I want you to do. I want to send you into the fields, and I want you to glean. It's something you don't know about, but it's something we all do, and you're just allowed to do it. So you go out there, there's going to be some other women in your age. Just start picking from the stuff they've already harvested. And she lands in a field of a man named Boaz. And Boaz comes out, and he's a small business owner. He has a bunch of land, has a bunch of property, has a bunch of stuff he does. And then he shows up, and he starts looking around and goes, who's this new girl? She's kind of cute. I kind of like her. What are you doing? He asks about her and finds out that she's been working like a dog. She doesn't take breaks. She's doing whatever she can to provide for her mother-in-law. Her mom, you mean? No, her mother-in-law. She goes, oh, okay, cool. And he's going, wait, okay, time out. Here's what I want you to do, Ruth. I want to offer you something. I want you to come and glean as much as you want from my fields. I want you to even go into the parts that have not yet been harvested. And I want you to take from that area. And I'm going to have my men come, and I'm going to have them drop some of their sheaves, all the stuff they've harvested. I'm going to have them drop it on the ground so you can just go behind them and pick it up. And that way you'll have even more food. You'll be able to provide for your mother-in-law. Get as much as you need. As much as you need. And then I'm going to tell my men to protect you because it can be dangerous out there. I don't want you to get hassled all the time. Just I want you to come, and they'll protect you. And then when my men draw water, you can take as much of the water as you want. Do not dehydrate out here. Get as much water as you want. So that way you'll be safe, you'll be fed, and you'll be provided for. I only want one thing from you, that you only come to my field. It's kind of heavy-handed, don't you think? But it's a good deal. And so she's like, that sounds awesome. And so then the workday ends, and Ruth's about to leave, and Boaz is like, whoa, you're leaving. I'm about to have a dinner with everybody. Why don't you come sit down for dinner, and we'll have dinner, and I'm going to tell this joke, and everyone's going to laugh. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. I'll show you how I'm just one of the guys. And so she comes, and she eats, and she can't eat another bite. She's had so much food. She's eaten so much from this man's table. And she goes home. She has leftovers. She takes it to her mother-in-law. She goes, here's your fajitas. I don't know. We were having dinner. And she goes, where on earth did you find all this food? We can't afford any of this. How'd you get this? And she goes, I happened to go into the field of a man named Boaz. And the plot thickens. Naomi says this, Lord bless him. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, he has not stopped showing kindness to the living and the dead. What does that line mean, by the way? Naomi is going, God has not stopped showing kindness to the living and the dead. Think about where God has brought this woman so far. She's a woman who goes, it's a famine, there's hardship, there's hard times going. We got to flee, we got to run away. God has abandoned us. And now she's sitting here going, God has not stopped showing kindness. She's like beginning to come full circle here. Going, oh, actually, God doesn't bail on us. And she goes, that man is a close relative. He is our guardian redeemer. He is a kinsman redeemer. This is someone you, Ruth, have to stay close to. Now, this is one of the great... And so now Ruth goes, okay, sounds great. I kind of liked him. He seemed kind of cool. I'll go hang out with him. That's fine. And she stays as close as you can for the next 2 to 4 months until harvest season's over. And then it ends. Harvest is done. There's no more gleaning. It's all done because the fields are bare. They've already done all the work. And Naomi starts going, okay, time out. Ruth, you're not making enough progress here because it could be a whole year before you go talk to this guy again. We got to start upping your game. How can we figure out something to do? And she goes, all right, I want you to get all dolled up, get as attractive as you can get. They're about to go down to the threshing floor, which is like a time after the harvest. They have to go and thresh out all the grain. And it's like this all night. It's basically a camping trip. It's the company camping trip. And they all go down there. And she goes, all right, you need to go kind of, figure out what's going on here so that we can make our move. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck here and not eating for the next year. And then Naomi gives some advice that I, as a guy, just simply loved. I love the advice. She says this in chapter 3, verse 3. She says, wash, therefore, and anoint yourself. Put on your cloak, not that other one, the one that really looks good on you, that goes good with your eyes, you know how moms go. The good cloak, the one we all like that looks good on you. And then go down to the threshing floor. But don't make yourself known to the man until he's finished eating and drinking. Don't go interrupt guy time. Just let them finish guy time. They're going to be hanging out. They're going to be around the bonfire. They're going to be doing the stuff. And Ruth's like, but wouldn't he be happy to see me at guy night? And she goes, oh, you cute little thing. No, not even a little bit. Not the slightest bit. Just wait till they're done. Don't go all how to lose a guy in 10 days on them. Don't show up in front of his friends and be like, are we going to get married or what? Like, what's happening here? Don't do that. Just wait. Let him have his time. And then later on, you can go talk to him. And so she goes, here's this weird ceremony that you don't understand because you're Moabite, and I don't understand because I'm American, but Naomi understood, and Boaz, both are going to understand this. And Ruth, I don't think really understands, but she's just doing what her mom says. And so she goes, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go in the middle of the night, and when he goes to bed, I want you to lay your cloak over his feet and lay down at his feet. And then it's just a waiting game. And the one where you feel awkward the entire time, that waiting game. And she does it. She does what she's told. And I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I'm going to do it. And in the middle of the night, verse 8, something startled the man. And he turned, he said, who's there? And there's a woman lying at my feet. Yeah, I bet he was startled. You know what I mean? Like one just kind of wandered in the middle of the night. That's weird, And he goes, who are you? And she said, I'm your servant Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are my guardian redeemer of our family. Okay, I was told to come put my cloak over your feet. Now I was also told to ask you to put the corner of your cloak over me. And Boaz knows exactly what she's asking. He says, do not be afraid. I will do all that you ask. Although it is true I am your guardian redeemer, there is one who is more closely related than I am. Stay here the night, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem you, then good. But if he is not willing, then as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. And this is where you find out that Boaz is like the real deal. That he's like the man. He takes care of business. Because Naomi and Ruth are like trying to figure out and finagle things and try to figure out how to put the pieces just in the right order, just to make sure Boaz knows they're available and the whole thing. And they go and bring it up to Boaz, and what do they find out? Boaz has more information than they do. Boaz has been doing his homework. Boaz has connected all the same dots they've connected, and he knows more than they know. He goes, yeah, that's a great idea. I understand. But there's someone else who has dibs to that land. And I can't just go do it. We got to do this the right way. And he goes, all right. And here's the deal for the ladies, young ladies who find themselves dating in the future or whatever. If you go and talk to your boyfriend and you say, well, what's the deal with like the future? Like, what does the future hold? What do things look like? What about us? What are we doing? If he doesn't have any more information than you, like any information that you don't currently know, he might not be taking it very seriously. He might just be kind of playing around with you. Like when I was getting engaged, Megan did not have to tell me where to find a ring shop. You know what I mean? Like she didn't set up the meeting between me and her dad to go say, hey, can I marry your daughter? All she had to do was be somewhat clear about the fact that she'd take my last name, and that was it. And so, okay, we don't like that joke? All right, whatever. And Ruth is probably jumping the gun here. He probably had this whole plan, and she just probably loved messing it up. He's like, ugh, you messed up my whole plan. So Boaz goes, all right, listen, we're going to do this the right way. And so he sets up, he has this perfect game plan for the guy. He goes, all right, listen. The next day, he goes to where all the elders hang out in the city, and he pulls this man and goes, hey, listen, you remember that guy Elimelech? We're family members of him. He died in Moab. That field's there. I want to buy it. You have first dibs, so if you want to buy it, you go ahead and buy it. If not, I'm going to buy it. And the guy goes, wow, there's just a field sitting there? I'll take that. That sounds great. All right, and as he's about to celebrate, Boaz goes, congratulations. Also, when you sign the dotted line, you also get a wife. She's Moabite. She's an immigrant. It's fine. She's great. She's wonderful. And the guy goes, wait, there's a wife? I have to get married? He said, yeah. And she also has a mother-in-law. So she's great too. Don't worry. And she goes, no, you mean it's her mom, right? Like, no, she'll have a whole collection of mothers-in-law. It'll be great. She's got just a team of them. And the guy goes, I don't really want this deal anymore. He goes, oh, you don't? Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, I guess if it's up to me, I guess I'll just do it. And the reason the guy walked away from the deal is because of a very important point about life. No one will redeem you voluntarily. I know it's my job. I know it's up to me to do this. But guess what? In Israel, we have no king. And everybody gets to do what's right in their own eyes. And I don't feel like doing that. Because no one will redeem you voluntarily unless they love you. Unless they love you. Then there's some reason to do it. There's some value in it. And here's what's amazing. Boaz and Ruth get married. They have a kid, and that kid has a kid, and that kid has a kid, and that great-great-grandchild turns out to be King David. He's the king that will unite Israel, who will bring the people back to God, who will he's like the only worshiping king the world's ever known. And God uses this weird little love story in the middle of the darkest time in Israel's history to say, I know I'm out here trying to help all these people here, but what I'm going to do to help these people is this. I'm going to work in the lives of these people right here, and I'm going to bring about change for the entire nation. Because there's one more way that God provides for this world that I didn't really list earlier, and that is godly people living godly lives. That even though the culture around Boaz is going, nope, I'm only going to get what I can get out of this thing, Boaz is going, I'm going to do the right thing. I know I have a chance to cut corners here, but I'm going to do it the right way. I know I have a chance to make myself happy, but I'm going to go about things the right way. And when godly people live their lives in godly ways, it actually affects the world around us. And so when we go, well, everybody else is doing it, you go, yeah, I know. They need someone who's not. We need someone who's not doing that so that God could have someone to work with. And then He can through you, provide to the world around you. One way that God loves to provide for this world is godly people doing godly things. And here's what's cool. They were not just the great-great-grandparents of King David. They're also the great-great-great-great-great-great-great, 20 great, whatever, how many great, of a man named Jesus Christ. And did you know that Jesus Christ, when He lived on earth, He had a lot of nicknames. Like, people called Him different things. Like, sometimes they were not nice nicknames. Like, they were like the devil. Like, people, they called Him Beelzebub. They called, oh, you're just a demon. Cool. But other nicknames were things like the Prince of Peace and the Lord of Lords. And one nickname that He had that is very important for you to understand is His nickname was Redeemer. He is the Redeemer. And He offers redemption to all of us. And He does not wait for you to prove your worth to Him, but He does it voluntarily. Romans says this, but God demonstrates His love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Because Jesus, in a very real sense, had the same problem everything else in this world has. If you're not going to die, you can't provide. If Jesus wasn't willing to die for us, He would not have been able to provide for us what we deeply need, which is our salvation. And He did die, and He rose from the dead. And that redemption is offered to everyone. And do you know that some people don't say yes to it? There was a time when Jesus was alive before He died. He was just on a hillside. He was looking over Jerusalem. He says, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem." And in the Bible, if you ever hear someone's name twice in a row, it's all empathy. It's all emotion. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. He's just emotional about this city. He goes, oh, the city that murders the prophets. And he says, how often I have longed to gather your children, like a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. But you were not willing. Imagine Boaz did everything he did. Everything fell right into line. Everything fell right in order. And he goes, Ruth, I did it. We're here. It's our wedding day. We're ready to make this done. And then she just goes, nah, I don't want to. That's what Jesus says we do to him. That Jesus has died so that he could provide. Don't let it be that you are the one who is not willing.